blockade and ensures that our forces are maximally postured to restart combat operations should this new Iranian regime choose poorly and not agree to a deal. And that is what we urge this morning, that this new Iranian regime choose wisely, which is where we'll start with a message to Iran's military leadership, to the KH leadership and IRGC leadership. We're watching you. Military leadership, to the KH leadership and IRGC leadership, we're watching you. Our capabilities are not the same, our military and yours. Remember, this is not a fair fight. And we know what military assets you are moving and where you are moving them to. While you are digging out, which is exactly what you're doing, digging out of bombed out and devastated facilities, we are only getting stronger. You are digging out your remaining launchers and missiles with no ability to replace them. You have no defense industry, no ability to replenish your offensive or defensive capabilities. You only have what you have. You know that, and we know that. You can move things around, but you can't actually rebuild. You can dig out for now, but you can't reconstitute. But we can. We are reloading with more power than ever before, and better intelligence, even more importantly, better intelligence than ever before, as you expose yourself with your movement to our watchful eye. We are locked and loaded on your critical dual-use infrastructure, on your remaining power generation, and on your energy industry. We'd rather not have to do it, but we're ready to go at the command of our president and at the push of a button. This blockade, which the chairman will detail this morning, is the polite way that this can go. Your energy is not moving and will not move, and we can do this all day. But it's not destroyed yet. Your energy industry is not destroyed yet. You like to say publicly, Iran, that you control the Strait of Hormuz, but you don't have a navy or real domain awareness. You can't control anything. To be clear, threatening to shoot missiles and drones at ships, commercial ships that are lawfully transiting international waters, that is not control. That's piracy. That's terrorism. The United States Navy controls the traffic going in and out of the strait because we have real assets and real capabilities. And we're doing this blockade, performing it with less than 10% of America's naval power. The math is clear. We're using 10% of the world's most powerful navy, and you have 0% of your navy. That's real control, and we have a long track record of dealing with pirates and terrorists. But there is an alternative. As our negotiators have said, you, Iran, can choose a prosperous future, a golden bridge, and we hope that you do for the people of Iran. In the meantime, and for as long as it takes, we will maintain this blockade, successful blockade. But if Iran chooses poorly, then they will have a blockade and bombs dropping on infrastructure, power, and energy. And at the same time, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and our friends over at Treasury are launching Operation Economic Fury as well, maximizing economic pressure across the entirety of the government. To Iran, choose wisely. The world watched, and so did you, as the U.S. military moved seamlessly from major combat operations to a world-class blockade. We can make that transition again, very quickly, and even more powerfully than ever. At the direction of President Trump, the War Department will ensure that Iran never has a nuclear weapon. Never. We'd prefer to do it the nice way, through a deal led by our great vice president and negotiating team, or we can do it the hard way. We urge this new regime to choose wisely. Speaking of choosing wisely, a note to the press corps, to the American media. As I just can't help but notice the endless stream of garbage, the relentlessly negative coverage, you cannot resist peddling, despite the historic and important success of this effort and the success of our troops. Sometimes it's hard to figure out what side some of you are actually on. It's incredibly unpatriotic. This same press corps, not this exact same press corps, but at least an older press corps, bent over backwards during the Biden administration to explain away, the disastrous and disgraceful Afghanistan withdrawal. You called it the greatest airlift in American history. It's almost like you're cheering only for one side. This past Sunday, I was sitting in church with my family, and our minister preached from the book of Mark, the 3rd chapter. And in the passage, Jesus entered a synagogue and healed a man with a withered hand. The Pharisees came to watch. And as the scripture reads, they came to see whether Jesus, would heal him, or he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. You see, the Pharisees, the so-called and self-appointed elites of their time, they were there to witness, to write everything down, to report. But their hearts were hardened. Even though they witnessed a literal miracle, it didn't matter. They were only there to explain away the goodness in pursuit of their agenda. As the passage ends, the Pharisees went out and immediately held counsel against him, how to destroy him. I sat there in church and I thought, our press are just like these Pharisees. Not all of you, but the legacy Trump-hating press. Your politically motivated animus for President Trump nearly completely blinds you from the brilliance of our American warriors. The Pharisees scrutinized every good act in order to find a violation, only looking for the negative. The hardened hearts of our press are calibrated only to impugn. I would ask you to open your eyes to the goodness, the historic success of our troops, the courage of this president, and this historic moment for a deal that could end the Iranian nuclear threat, the incredible battlefield victory laid before your eyes, the not one, but 2 incredible rescue missions, miracles, you might say, or a locked-in blockade. Or how about historic recruiting numbers? Yesterday, we announced that the Air Force and the Space Force met new higher goals in FY26, 5 months in advance of the end of the fiscal year, five months ahead of time. The Marine Corps and the Army will soon do the same. 2-3 years ago, we couldn't meet lower recruiting numbers, not even close. Where are the reports on that? Where's the coverage of the new spirit in the country, the new spirit in the ranks, the surge of Americans wanting to join the greatest military in the world? Nothing from the fake news. We sense a pattern. You see, on the battlefield, these are demonstrations of uniquely American capabilities, strength and resolve. It's all around you each and every day. But in the press, you only seek the negative, earning each and every day the fake news label. But the American people, with goodness in their hearts, see past the Pharisees in our press. They see the goodness. You watching, you see the goodness. They see the success. They see the reality. And they don't demand perfection, and perfection is not possible on any battlefield. But they see the incredible feats that our troops accomplish every single day. So to those troops, stay focused, block out the noise, stay aggressive. You are showing the world what it means to be an American warrior. You are making this building and the American people proud. We pray for you every day, and we have your back in every way. And to Iran, choose wisely. I pray you choose a deal which is within your grasp for the betterment of your people and for the betterment of the world. In the meantime, the War Department is locked and loaded. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here today. Last week, the President of the United States directed a ceasefire that temporarily paused major combat operations in Iran. The unprecedented effort by America's joint force during Operation Epic Fury set the conditions for this ceasefire. And as the Secretary said, I'd like to emphasize during this pause that the United States joint force remains postured and ready to resume major combat operations at literally a moment's notice. This morning, I'd like to give you an update on the ongoing blockade in the CENTCOM AOR area of responsibility. On Monday, 13 April at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, at the direction of the President, America's joint force began implementing a blockade against Iran under the leadership of Admiral Cooper and the team at CENTCOM. Let me be clear, this blockade applies to all ships, regardless of nationality, heading into or from Iranian ports. The U.S. action is a blockade of Iran's ports and coastline, not a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. Enforcement will occur inside Iran's territorial seas and in international waters. In addition to this blockade, the joint force, through operations and activities in other areas of responsibility, like the Pacific area of responsibility under the command of Admiral Paparo, will actively pursue any Iranian-flagged vessel or any vessel attempting to provide material support to Iran. This includes dark fleet vessels carrying Iranian oil. As most of you know, dark fleet vessels are those illicit or illegal ships evading international regulations, sanctions, or insurance requirements. More than 10,000 sailors, Marines, and airmen, over a dozen ships and dozens of aircraft are executing this mission. And let me walk you through this operation a little bit. Please go to the first slide. Blockade began. North is up. You can see the blockade line here in the center of the graphic, denoted by the red dashed line. This map is a pull from our common operating picture that we use to allow commanders and key leaders to see what is happening in near real time. We just grabbed screen grabs to highlight the actions and activities. What is not shown is how incredibly congested this area is and the incredible work that our sailors are doing to ensure that they can work in and around an incredibly busy water space. What is also not depicted here is the massive force of fighters, intelligence aircraft, helicopters, and other embarked forces, to include aerial refueling tankers, that are up overhead this blockade area. You'll note that U.S. forces are in blue, Iranian ships are in red, and as we started this blockade, there were 7 ships of interest that were of concern for U.S. Central Command. Through a variety of intelligence tools and with the assistance of the Office of Naval Intelligence and other intelligence agencies, the force began to hunt for potential interdictors at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Next slide, please. It's now 12:40 Eastern Daylight Time, 2 hours and 40 minutes into the blockade, as attempted blockade runners attempt to hop the line. U.S. forces began to commit. Out in front of them was a range of intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance, and tactical assets, and immediately these runners began to see, sense, and feel America's combat power compressing upon them. The lead ship, normally a destroyer as depicted here, along with air power off of the USS Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, began to move towards those ships. At each point, the United States Navy will transmit a warning. A young sailor, normally on the bridge of one of those destroyers, a junior officer, picks up that mic and transmits, and I quote, "Do not attempt to breach the blockade. Vessels will be boarded for interdiction and seizure transiting to or from Iranian ports. Turn around or prepare to be boarded. If you do not comply with this blockade, we will use force." And as this message is being transmitted, as I mentioned earlier, those ship masters can literally see, sense, and feel the pressure around them. It's a finely tuned machine, rehearsed multiple times, and executed now 13 times since the blockade has begun. Next slide, please. We're now 24 hours plus into the blockade. You can see the turning around of multiple ships, 12 of which stayed inside the blockade line, one of which not depicted off to the eastern side, turned around before even attempting it. Any ship that would cross the blockade would result in our sailors executing pre-planned tactics designed to bring the force to that ship, if need be, board the ship and take her over. And that includes a series of escalated force options, which could include warning shots and others. Next slide. The final graphic shows taken at 11:20 p.m. the night of 14 April. You can see that the captains of all these ships have made the wise decision not to move, transit, or run this blockade. As I mentioned, so far 13 ships have made the wise choice of turning around. And as we continue to hold this blockade at the order of the Secretary and the President, any vessel that compares to comply with our instructions will be dealt with accordingly. As of this morning, U.S. Central Command has not been required to board any particular ships. And I'll remind you that we are also conducting similar maritime interdiction actions and activities in the Pacific AOR against those ships that left that area before we began the blockade. Before I turn it over to Admiral Cooper, I want to talk briefly today about the men and women enforcing the blockade, America's sailors and Marines, and today particularly our destroyer and surface forces. When we talk about an American destroyer, it's important that you and the American people understand their capabilities. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer are the backbone of the United States Navy surface fleet. Over 500 feet long, they displace 9,000 tons, and it is the sports car of the United States Navy. From the keel to the mast, they stand nearly 10 stories tall, and their 4 gas turbine engines can drive the ship at 30-plus knots. These ships are armed to the teeth with surface-to-air missiles, naval guns, multiple electronic warfare systems, embarked helicopters, extending the reach and capability of each and every one of these destroyers. But far and away, the most important weapon on board these ships is the American sailor. Over 300 warfighters are the heart and soul of these warships. At sea, sometimes for months, and these ships out in the CENTCOM AOR have been out there for months. They operate around the clock in a constant state of readiness, always delivering for our joint force. It's hot in the engine room. The engineering team keeps the lights on and the ship powered and able to respond to the orders from the bridge. On that bridge, our sailors maintain a constant watch, maneuvering the ship tactically and safely through always congested water space. And there is a lot out there. It is like driving a sports car through a supermarket parking lot on a payday weekend with thousands of kids in that parking lot as you attempt to maneuver through there to get to that ship that would attempt to run that blockade. Down in the Combat Information Center, the CIC, the Tactical Warfare Center of the ship, that is where the decisions are made. As threats appear, these young sailors are making real-time decisions on how to identify these threats and handle them, and they always deliver. These ships are run by the youngest sailors in our surface warfare Navy. The helmsman, the sailor on the watch at the bridge, is normally just between 18 to 19 years old, and they are trusted to drive this warship through that supermarket parking lot without hitting anything. The conning officer, an equally young commissioned officer who's normally just a few years out of college, is the ones that are giving that young helmsman the orders on where to take that American warship to execute the mission that the Secretary and the President has given us. These are incredibly well-trained sailors. They are led by incredible leaders, salty, experienced leaders, and trusted with deep responsibility. And I'm so humbled and proud of America's Navy. These sailors choose to take the road less traveled, to go into the